All right. Good evening, everybody. This is Martin Ruof, and we are going to get started in just a moment. I am connecting everything here so everybody can see what the heck we're doing. First of all, I just want to say welcome to the Martin Ruof podcast. I'm very, very happy to be here. I'm grateful that each of you are here watching this. And this is a new podcast. This is actually the second podcast that I've done. And the first one that I did was last week. And by the way, we're doing these every Tuesday night, just so you know, at 7 p.m. Central from now on. And the last podcast that I did, which was the first podcast, which was last Wednesday, um, it went, it went well. And there was a few technical difficulties, but I was, I'm really, really happy that I did it. And I I learned a lot. So, I can just tell you this, the purpose of this podcast is to help people break through, break free. It's if I were to sum it up in one word, it's really liberation. And it's about helping people live the life they are destined to live and that they believe they're truly capable of living. It's about helping people live to their highest potential. And from my own background, I've been an entrepreneur for 20 plus years. If I go way back, my real background was, I started working in the restaurant industry at a very young age. I was 2. No, I started working in the restaurant industry when I was, just a teenager, basically, and literally started working at Subway sub shop and making sandwiches. And then I became, a dishwasher at a huge, pizza joint and super busy restaurant. So long story short, I've literally done every single job there is to do in a restaurant, literally every one, with the exception of being a head chef. And outside of that, I've done it all. And, about 20 years ago, I hit a point in my life where I just became very frustrated, and I started to become disillusioned because I just wasn't living the lifestyle that I wanted to live. I didn't feel like I was really being productive. I didn't feel like I was contributing everything that I knew in my heart and in my gut, in my mind, that I actually could contribute. I had certain gifts and talents that were underutilized, and I became very, very frustrated. And so I began to seek out ways that I could start living a greater lifestyle. And, for those of you that are on the journey, like we're all on a journey, but for those of you that are really on this path right now where you're frustrated in your life and you're not living the lifestyle and they're not living the type of life you really want to be living, and you're sick and tired of watching other people live the life that you want to live, I get it. And that's actually a really good place to be, because on the surface, the problem that I identified was a lack of money. I was like, I've got to make more money. If I was just making more money, I was literally working in a restaurant that was one of the top restaurants in Los Angeles at the time, really one of the top restaurants in the United States. And I was waiting on celebrity after celebrity after celebrity, millionaires, of course, like that was, everybody was a millionaire there. But I was already waiting on billionaires constantly. And so I started looking at these people and I was like, well, what do these people have that I don't have? And ultimately what it came down to was they just had a better plan than I had. And so I began to focus and seek out a greater plan to be able to make more money, to increase my lifestyle. So I was living more on purpose and all of that. So I needed to check that box of making more money. I wound up meeting some people that ultimately led me into, into being really an entrepreneur. And I wound up sort of stumbling into a business that profoundly changed my life. And I wound up generating an 8-figure income, a business that had produced over $600 million in revenue. And allowed me to travel all over the world. And I became a public speaker, a trainer, and was teaching people how to be an entrepreneur and how to be successful within a very specific context. But ultimately, what it came down to was I was actually teaching people about personal development, how to be the highest version of themselves. Because when you focus on yourself and you develop yourself personally, everything else in your life begins to fall into place. You start making more money. You start being able to improve your health. You start being able to contribute more. And the list goes on. But, as I began to focus on personal development and teaching that, some interesting things began to pop up for me. And I'll talk about those things in just a moment, but my life kind of went from, zero to hero in a very short period of time, within a matter of really 2 years. And so that's why I say, if you're in a place where you're frustrated right now, good, use it. That is valuable feedback that you are getting from the universe or from God, whatever works for you. That's valuable feedback. Frustration is good. Anger is good. Resentment is not. But anger, it can be very empowering, but certainly frustration is. And so, I wound up with the pandemic that happened, that really sort of annihilated the business that I had, and things took a different turn. And so I developed this podcast, which, honest to God, is well over a year in the making, because I avoided it for a year. And I avoided it because I had imposter syndrome. I really developed this. I went from a place of literally speaking in front of audiences of 18 to 25,000 people on a regular basis, multiple times a year, pretty much almost every quarter, to feeling like, who the hell is going to want to hear anything that I have to say? What right do I have to speak to anyone? And I developed this imposter syndrome, I think, for a number of reasons, but that's actually what I really want to talk about today. And I want to dive into this imposter syndrome because I see it in a lot of other people. And I'm starting to see it in people that have tremendous gifts and talents. They have something to serve the world. They have something to contribute to the planet. And in this day and age, with all the absolute craziness that is going on in the world, your voice, your message is needed. And you may not think it is, but I'm here to tell you it is. The collective, we need to hear you. And I know this is true because I've been on this journey myself. And, I've had some very good friends, my wife, and some very, very close friends that literally, I think, wanted to punch me in the face, because they're like, would you please get out and start sharing what the hell is going on with you, and sharing, just things that you've learned, because there's people that need to hear it. And so here I am. And so if this reaches, and I've said this before, and I really understand the how much I actually mean this, and the power of this statement I'm about to share. If this reaches one person and has a positive impact on one person, great. It's worth it. Because the power of reaching one person is this: that one person then goes out and starts living their life full out, playing full out, and actually contributing what they're meant to be contributing, and hopefully start living living out their destiny. Then that one person is going to reach at least one other person, who reaches one other person, who reaches one other person. But it doesn't just go by a factor of one. It becomes a factor of one, becomes a factor of two, which becomes a factor of many, which then becomes a factor of the masses. It's how movements are created. But it takes one person, one lone nut, to go out there and actually start dancing in front of a crowd of people and risk being ridiculed and risk rejection and risk abandonment and risk all of it, and being willing to be seen, to communicate, to move one other person. And then now there's two, and those two turn into many, and those many turn into the masses. That's how it works. So thank you to all of you that pushed me to do this. And so let me dive into what really imposter syndrome, certainly for me, has been about. But my story is very often, I'm sure, it's the story of so many other people. And I can just say this, with the imposter syndrome, uh, I had on the outside all the trappings of success: the cars, the home, the jewelry, the travel, the this, the that, the recognition, all the stuff that, honest to God, it really is meaningless. It really is. Now, if you're sitting here and you're like, dude, I hate my car, I hate where I live, I hate my job, blah, 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 blah. I want all that stuff. The car is going to fix me. The car is going to make me feel better about myself. I understand that. And I encourage you to go after it and get it 100%. And I'm also here to tell you, there are billionaires that wind up killing themselves because they're miserable. There are multi-millionaires. There are people in the spotlight that are so miserable, they would gladly give up their fortunes just for a true sense of peace of mind and belonging. I promise you, I've met them. They're out there. I actually became one of them. Not a billionaire, but I became someone that was, a multi-millionaire that was miserable. So here's the thing. It's kind of like within me, while I was really struggling with this imposter syndrome. And by the way, imposter syndrome, there's certain definitions of it, but I can just tell you this. The best way I can dumb it down and simplify it is, you feel like you are an imposter. You feel like you are not worthy of sharing. You feel like you don't belong. And you could be completely successful. You could check all the boxes on the outside, and the world looking in could say, you're so successful. Wow. But inside you're like, yeah, but I don't deserve it. Yeah, but I'm a fake. Yeah, but I'm a fraud. Yeah, and all you want to do is just start shrinking and collapsing within yourself and hiding. Imposter syndrome is debilitating. Imposter syndrome feels terrible. Literally, it feels awful. And there's four. So here's the thing. When I was going through like the real throes of imposter syndrome, it was almost like there was two people. Like I was split in two. It was like Jekyll and Hyde. Actually, that's perfect. It was like Dr. Jekyll and then Mr. Hyde, and I think Hyde is actually a great term. It just popped out of me. Dr. Jekyll is the version of Martin that was outside and, out in the world and, like outgoing and extroverted and speaking in front of audiences and making money and contributing and teaching people, and was just like, go, 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 dynamic, right? But Mr. Hyde was the version of Martin that was negative, that wanted to hide, literally, not show up. The Mr. Hyde version of Martin, was self-sabotage. I became incredibly introverted and focused on all the things that I believed I wasn't. And the reality is this: one of those people was going to show up. Literally, one of them was. And one of the versions of you is going to show up. Your Jekyll or your Hyde. One of them is going to show up. The key is understanding this. I'm about to share with you. The key is understanding this. The version of you that shows up depends on which version you feed. When you are in your imposter syndrome and the throes of it, it's really easy. In fact, it's simple to focus on the negative, to focus on that which you do not have, that which you are not, that which you lack. Whatever you focus on, I promise you, expands. You've heard that, you've heard it, and you've heard it. And if you don't pay attention and you don't heed that warning, then you are doomed to live at the mercy of your thoughts and of your words, and therefore of your deeds. And eventually those things your thoughts, words, and deeds start producing beliefs. And it becomes a perpetual crazy eight that just feeds itself again and again and again. And there are what's called the 4 Ps. There are 4 things that happen as a result of imposter syndrome and actually contribute to the deepening of imposter syndrome. And those 4 Ps, very simple. First one is perfectionism. The perfectionism shows up with imposter syndrome in this way. It's never going to be good enough. I wouldn't start this podcast, not a joke, for a year, frankly, over a year. My friend Janet, Janet Kiefer, just an amazing human being. She was like exhausted talking to me, trying to convince me to just start, just do it. Just do it. I mean, she helped me build a vision board. She helped me build a brand. She helped me build a podcast. She introduced me to the platform that I'm on right now, which is StreamYard. She helped me in so many ways, and I just wouldn't do it. And it was because I was not perfect enough. Well, this isn't going to be good enough. Well, that's not going to be enough. I don't know exactly what my message is going to be. Well, what if I say this and it's wrong? And what if I look funny? What if this? What if that? What if this? What if that? Perfectionism. So up here, it's like we can rationally say, well, dude, you're never going to be perfect. It doesn't exist. Perfection does not exist. Okay, great. But I still got to be perfect. It was the fear of not looking good, the fear of what other people will think. They say the greatest prison you'll ever live in is the fear of what other people think. It is doomsday. It is a doomsday cycle. So perfectionism, that's the first P. The second P is procrastination. Procrastination could look like, well, I've got to clean my office today. I've got to make sure my desk is clean. I've got to make sure that, I got to cut my hair. Oh, whoa, you know what? I got to cut the lawn today. I've got to do the laundry. I've got to wash my car. I've got to watch the old reruns of Seinfeld. I've got to figure out all the things that I can do to procrastinate to avoid doing the one thing that I need to do that actually will move me forward in my life. I mastered perfectionism and I mastered procrastination. I mastered the pursuit of perfectionism, I should say. And then you've got paralysis, and this is a real killer. Okay, the paralysis. It's the paralysis of overanalysis. I've got to learn. For me, my paralysis showed up as I've got to learn StreamYard. There was always one more thing that I needed to think through. And for me, paralysis really showed up as I just was stuck in my mind. Not a joke. I would sit in front of my computer, trapped in my mind, doing nothing for hours. For real, for hours. And it got to the point that I began to feel so bad about myself that I was beating myself up, that I would walk away from my computer feeling depressed, debilitated, and just horrible about myself. And then the 4th P that showed up, people pleasing. This was interesting. People pleasing has been sort of an ongoing battle for me throughout my whole life. And the people pleasing showed up with the imposter syndrome, where I would start doing things for other people at the expense of myself. I would start doing things for other people at the expense of my own vision, my own dreams, my own health, my own well-being. And this is a killer because I'm married and I have a family. So my own well-being impacts my family. My own well-being impacts my business. It impacts my relationships with my friends. It impacts virtually all aspects of my life. And people pleasing, putting other people's needs before my own, really hurt me for a long time. And so those are the four P's that, again, I just say becomes a crazy eight, a perpetual cycle of debilitation and self-sabotage, extraordinary self-sabotage. So again, the four P's are perfectionism, procrastination, paralysis, and people pleasing. So if you're dealing with imposter syndrome, you are without a doubt 100% dealing with at least two of those aspects, and chances are all four, and very easily all four within the span of one day, a half a day, and potentially within 1 hour. Not kidding, because that was me. So for me, I underneath all of my imposter syndrome was a core belief that I was unworthy. Okay. And that stemmed from two primary factors in my life. The first was being adopted. I was adopted, placed for adoption at birth, and I was adopted by an all-white family. I am half Black, half Italian by birth. So my birth mother was Italian. My birth father was Black. And the second factor that led to feeling deeply unworthy, which then led to triggered imposter syndrome, was racism. I dealt with a tremendous amount of racism as a very, very young child, literally 3 and 4 years old. I remember it all the way through my adolescence. And so, you know, I developed a tremendous lack of self-confidence and very low self-esteem. And so that deep-seated belief that I was unworthy was a like cannon fodder for imposter syndrome when I became successful. I'm going to tell you, driving a Mercedes S63 AMG didn't cure the imposter syndrome, didn't cure feeling unworthy. Driving beautiful Porsche 911, living in a home in the Hollywood Hills that used to be owned by a celebrity, did not in any way, shape, or form cure my sense of unworthiness. And so you can chase all the accoutrements of life, and I wish you all the best in your endeavor. I truly want those things for you. And I also encourage you to do the inner work. Chase the inner success, because without the inner success, the outer success either will not happen or you will not retain it. You will self-sabotage it. I've seen it again and again and again, and it happened to me. And yes, you can achieve it again. Absolutely. Because once you learn how to be successful, once you do it once, you can do it again. It's a formula. So in the last few minutes of this podcast, I want to talk about what you can do to really work on yourself and to eliminate imposter syndrome and potentially prevent it from occurring in the first place. So if you're going through imposter syndrome right now, here are some things you can do. And I would boil it down to three primary categories. Okay. And if you're not going through imposter syndrome, here are three categories that you can apply to your life that will help to prevent it from happening. Okay. And I'm going to say it this way. Okay. It's kind of like there's things you can do to be positively productive every day. Because when you're positively productive from the inside out, game on. You can accomplish freaking anything. 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 You want to make more money? Do this. Do these three things. You want to get in better health? Do these three things. You want to have greater relationships? Do these three things. You want to be a total freaking badass in your life? Do these three things. Now, these are not one, two, three little simple little things. No, it's a culmination of factors. But it's how you, one, start your day, how you move throughout your day. And the third thing is how you end your day, how you start your day, how you move throughout your day, and how you end your day. And I'm going to give you a big fat freaking secret right here. So if you're taking notes, capture this. What you do before your day starts can make a massive, powerful difference in how your day ends. So listen to me and listen well. When does your day begin? When does it begin? Well, for most people, it begins when you wake up, whatever time that is. Now, I'm not here to tell you, be part of the 5 a.m. club, get up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. I'm not here to you do what you got to do. Okay. I do think there's tremendous benefit in waking up early. Absolutely. Because you can focus and take the time you need for a powerful morning routine. That when you develop a powerful morning routine that is simple, by powerful, I do not mean like running around doing 9,000 different things. No, it's a matter of doing 4 or 5, 3 to 5 things that are actually quite simple. And your morning routine could take 15 minutes. It could take 10 minutes. It could take an hour. Mine typically takes about 45 minutes. So here's what you do. Okay. The morning routine. First and foremost, for me, it involves prayer and meditation. If you're not interested in praying, cool. This isn't a religious thing. For me, prayer is more spiritually grounded. It's about communicating with a power vastly greater than myself. For me, it's about communicating through meditation and through spoken word with the source of all that is. Because I am not in charge. This is my belief. If I'm in charge, God help me, life is a mess. When I get out of my own way, and that is what prayer and meditation is largely about for Martin Ruof. Getting Martin Ruof out of the way, getting Mr. Hyde out of the damn freaking way. So I can be of use, of maximum power, of maximum contribution to other people, of maximum service. I worked in the service industry for 20 years because God was trying to tell me, you're here to be of service, Martin, in your life. So listen, one of the 6 basic human needs is personal growth and contribution, service to others. Okay. So this checks off the box, prayer meditation checks off the box of prayer, of growth and contribution. There's another thing, visioning your life. Literally focus on manifestation, envisioning what you want for your life. Not how you want it to be in the future, of how it is in the future. Call it forth. See it as it is today. Even though the money is not in your bank account, you are focusing in gratitude of your greater yet to be that is absolutely 100% manifesting. The money ain't in the account yet, but I'm telling you, it's coming. So live in the gratitude, and this is the 4th one. Write a gratitude list or speak a gratitude list. And I mean, get into it, baby. Get into it. Talk about the things that you are grateful for. And it might be something as simple. I am grateful to be alive. I am grateful to wake up. I am grateful for the sun shining. If you live in Antarctic, in the Arctic, and it's 0 degree or like -40, I am grateful to be alive in the cold freaking weather. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for my son. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be of service today. Get into gratitude. It is powerful. And maybe you need to get into forgiveness. I won't do it on this, but there are certain forgiveness prayers and mantras that are incredibly powerful. Because if you're stuck in the past, then 100% you've got to get into forgiveness. You absolutely do. And chances are the number one person you have to forgive is yourself. Okay. So how you start your day, how you start your day will determine the rest of your day, especially when you are goal oriented, having tasks to accomplish throughout the day. But I'm getting ahead of myself because that's what you do at the end of the day. So let's talk about throughout the day. Okay. So throughout the day, it's maintenance. Okay. It's maintenance throughout the day, and it's structured maintenance. So literally, this is going to sound crazy, but little things like drinking water, like connecting with yourself and giving yourself time, whether it's 5 minutes throughout the day where you just get to connect with yourself. Listen to what I just said. You are taking 5 to 10 minutes throughout the day at some point during your lunch hour or whatever, where you can go sit in your car, in your office, somewhere where you're by yourself, by a body of water, something where you connect with your self. Two different words. Your self. And you get back to you, and you get back into the gratitude, and you get back into your purpose, and you take a deep breath, and you just get back to yourself, which is away from the craziness, away from the drama, away from the hectic, to-do lists and all this, what you may or may not be accomplishing, and this, that, and the other. This is probably not going to be simple for you to do. But what is simple for you to do is simple for you not to do. So make the time, and don't sit here and tell me the bullshit that you don't have time. That's bullshit. You do. Stop lying to yourself. You make the time. Okay. The maintenance throughout the day. Drinking water will ground you. Doing your best to eat something healthy and not loading up on sugar and loading up on caffeine, because all that's going to do is send your mind zinging. Okay. Now, then here is what I think is honestly potentially more powerful than how you start the day is how you end your day. Your nighttime routine. What is your nighttime routine? Do you end your night watching, horror movies? Do you end your night watching movies, reruns of or like on Netflix and dramatic shows on Netflix? Do you end your night checking out? Do you end your night looking at your phone and so on social media? Do you end your night focused on other people's lives and what you think other people's lives are like just because you're seeing that crap on social media? Do you end your night in jealousy? Do you end your night in envy? Do you end your night in negatively focusing on what you don't have? Do you end your night in lack and limitation? Do you end your night looking at your bank account and stressing about your bills and the money that isn't there? If you end your night like that, guess how well you're going to sleep? Not very well. If you end your night like that, how do you think you're going to wake up? So your night routine is important. Here's the first thing I encourage you to do. Write down on a piece of paper what you intend to accomplish the next day. Those who fail to plan are planning to fail. You've heard it. Now get into it. So write down on a piece of paper, even if it's just a blank piece of paper, write it down and start focusing, writing down on what you have to accomplish the next day. Okay. That's first and foremost. Then here's my advice. Some form of prayer or meditation. Slow down. Turn off your phone. Don't watch Netflix, and connect with you. Connect with the power that's greater than yourself. And yes, focus on something to be grateful for. What worked today that you could be grateful for? What did you accomplish today? What did you learn today? When you focus in gratitude and before you go to bed and you say a nightly prayer or a meditation, then you are connecting with source, and that will help you sleep better. It will help you wake up better, and you will wake up more aligned with purpose, with growth, with certainty, with and being okay with uncertainty. You'll feel more connected to source, which actually is love, and you can slip into and move into your morning routine with greater ease. The last thing I say before I go to bed is thank you to God. And again, for those of you that get freaked by religion, I'm really not speaking about religion, but if you are, if that's how you think, fantastic. I just want to communicate that for me, it's getting Martin Hyde out of the way and being available and present so I can be a vessel for God to use, so I can contribute my talents and contribute my skills to the world. Because that's how I started this whole this podcast rather. I'm so used to doing calls. That's how I started this. It's about being able to contribute. And it's about getting me out of the way so I can do good and hopefully do greatness. So those are 3 things you can do. You can start your day well, you can structure your day well, and you can end your day well. When you do those things, watch your life change from the inside out. And then accomplishing your goals that you wrote down become easier. Things just start flowing, and because you're moving into alignment and you are congruent. That's when the magic happens. So you want to make more money, do these things. You want to improve the quality of your relationships, do these things. Your morning, your night, and your daytime structured routines. So, and all of these, of course, will help eliminate imposter syndrome because you're actually becoming productive and you're working on the inside out, and they magically help develop self-esteem and a deep sense of worthiness. Action builds self-esteem. How you work on yourself develops develops worthiness, and therefore outer actions also develop self-esteem and worthiness and confidence. Okay, so I hope you got value out of this. Normally I'm going to end this podcast within 30 minutes. I went 8 minutes over, but I do hope you got value out of this. Again, the Martin Ruof podcast is going to be going live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. This is available on YouTube. I'll put it on my YouTube channel. And also, of course, I go live on Instagram and Facebook. I hope I was live on Instagram and Facebook. Eventually I'll start bringing on some special guests as well. So the last thing I'll just share with you, if you're feeling like you're in a period of breakdown, that's actually a good thing, because guess what's coming next? As long as you continue to move forward, it's breakthrough. So it's from breakdown to breakthrough. There is hope. Stay connected. Keep moving forward, and know this: you are not alone. You are never alone. There are always people on the path with you. Recognize it. Open your eyes. Recognize it. Communicate. Reach out. We are all here to help you. This is a community of people that are here to support you in accomplishing your goals, and most importantly, helping you live a life of true freedom, liberty, and abundant prosperity, and obviously contribution. So with that said, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. on the Martin Ruof podcast. Bye-bye.